Let me introduce Krzysztof Magiera to you, the man, the myth, the legend, the creator of reanimated gesture handler screens. He's our director of engineering, and I think he is now ready to present, so let me not waste more time.
I'm the founder at Software Mansion, and I lead most of our React Native related efforts, including the open source stuff you might have heard about or familiar with already. And today I'm going to talk about the road to a better developer experience. So last year we ran this survey, and Kasper also mentioned that today that there is another edition happening this year. It was called State of React Native, and we collected feedback from people using React Native on various different topics, but one of the topics was missing features. And the second most common answer for the question about the missing features was better debugging and profiling. So that's what people see as an important missing piece of React Native as a framework, as an ecosystem. And I think like we all actually agree about that. Like if you look at how those things actually work on different platforms, different frameworks, and I'll show you some examples later on. Then it's like really visible that there's a lot of room for improvement in this area. So so let's maybe look first at how things work on Android. And when we talk about debugging and profiling, we can actually extend that claim to just like overall developer experience in React Native, which is still like something not in pair with other frameworks. And you can see it in the next slide. So this is how the experience look like when you start developing with Android. So you go to the Android website. There is an immediate link to downloading Android Studio. It's pretty big. It's difficult to miss. Just right here, you download it, you open it, and there is some few dialogues that pops up, asks you to download things. You agree as usual, and then you get this opened, create a new project, and you just get the IDE with your source code loaded, ready to go. And there is this one button here. You just click it, and then it starts the emulator. It runs your app, and you have like a pretty decent like initial experience, and also very good debugging experience. So you can just put breakpoints here on the side of the editor, and then when it hits the breakpoint, it just stops and just gives you a stack and all that stuff. So this is very nice and very useful. And we don't really have that in React Native. But like the grass is not always greener on the other side. So people working on other ecosystems, they have their issues, like problems with the build system, or like how much RAM the application consumes, the IDE consumes, or dealing with the interface builder on iOS. So not saying that life is really great if you're not using React Native. So there are other issues in other places. So but now let's focus on React Native really. So we saw that how it works on Android. It's pretty similar experience when it comes to iOS, for example. So you download an IDE. You don't really have to touch terminal, and you have like the whole experience is kind of enclosed in the IDE. And when you start with React Native, you go to the React Native official website, and you click on Getting Started, and then you get presented this page. So the good news is that this page is really short, and it kind of ends with that's it. So there are only like a few commands you need to run, which is pretty good. If you're familiar with terminal, this is relatively easy to get started. So the trick is that you have this tab here that says Expo Go, Quick Start. So this is actually instruction for just starting with Expo Go. And if you want to do something more complicated, then you switch the tab, and then you get presented with this large text and like many things you need to install. So you need to install the whole iOS environment. You need to install CocoaPods. You need to install other things that you don't really understand because you're just getting started with React Native, so you don't understand all those things you need. And then you switch to Android, and it's like even longer. So by using React Native, you not only really need to learn React Native when you get started, but you also need to learn the tool chains or like the tools that people use when developing for iOS and when developing for Android. This is good if you are already familiar with that, but not necessarily really good if you're not. So we're just coming as a first timer. And so once you actually get through all of that and you run this command, you need to use terminal, of course, because there's no ID. And then you start this in a terminal, and then it opens a new tab in terminal that says Metro, and like you don't really know what that is because you don't know what Metro is. And then this Metro actually starts a server on a certain port. So if you have two projects, you cannot really run them in parallel. So you need to really have a lot of understanding about all the internals of the framework before you actually get started building anything. So when it comes to debugging, so this is what you actually do, right? Everyone does this. So this is the most universal way. It works everywhere. There is no debugger experience, and that's how you debug in React Native, right? Not quite. So there are a couple of other options, right? So there is this OG debug.js remotely option. Have anyone here used this option ever? Like, are you old enough to be using this? No. Okay. No one uses? Oh, there's one person over there. Yeah. Yeah, some people use this. So this option was there since like the very early days of React Native. And the way it worked was that it would actually spin up a separate kind of VM that would work inside of a web browser, and then connect to that web browser and pass all the communication between the JavaScript VM and React Native. Just past that, the bridge was actually like working over the WebSocket and then passing all the the commands there, and those commands would execute outside of your application container. They would execute in Chrome, and you could actually use the Chrome DevTools thanks to that. So it's pretty nice workaround. I'd say that stick around for quite longer than we really needed. But like once React Native started adopting JSI and synchronous modules, Reanimated is one of those actually, then you couldn't, you would not be able to use this option any longer. So we needed to find a new way. So there is Flipper, right? So yeah, there is a lot of hate about Flipper. Not saying it's not deserved, but like the fact is that Flipper failed to deliver on promises it should. And the best testament about that was that I was actually trying to get a screenshot of Flipper. I haven't used it in a while, but I opened it and then I saw this. So this is how Flipper looked like. But then I actually reinstalled everything. I removed, I cleaned cache, whatever, restarted my computer, and then yeah, I finally managed to get you a screenshot from Flipper. So Flipper is actually a standalone application that you run, and it connects to React Native. It is rich in features. So you can see the logs. You can see you get the debugger. You also have access to React DevTools there. So in theory, it should be very convenient, but then like it's still not really integrated in your workflow. You need to have this separate app that you need to run, and it has its own problems. So so as I mentioned, like Flipper kind of failed to deliver on the promises, and even like it's not really longer considered to be the future of debugging in React Native. So the great thing about the React Native survey that we run, the state of React Native last year, and we're running this year, is that people can give feedback, and this feedback is actually being considered. And it's not just us who read the answers, but also people at Meta, and people at Expo, and people who can really make a lot of impact in the ecosystem. So at this year App.js conference, Alex Hunt from Meta introduced this new debugging one-click workflow that's coming. It is actually coming up in the React Native 73, hopefully really soon. So this actually gives you a kind of like a new experience that connects with the actual VM that runs on your device. There is just one click. You need to open this developer menu. You click Open Debugger, and it actually opens you with the new window that is kind of like just part of the Chrome, but it actually runs as a standalone process, so you don't really need to. It doesn't overlap with the Chrome you might be using on your computer. It's pretty convenient, but it's still not integrated. At the same conference, there was another great talk. I really recommend Alex's talk and also this one by Cedric. And Cedric talk was about debugging and specifically about the VS Code Expo extension that they built at Expo. And what this extension does is actually allows you to have debugging, but inside of VS Code, which is much greater experience because when you put breakpoints, you can actually also make updates in your code, and then you don't need to flip between two applications to do single task. So that's very convenient, but can we get something better? Can we get like anything more than those things? Those things are great, and it's great that there are improvements. So at Software Mention, this is a nice photo actually taken here in this room. This is a React Native open source team at Software, except this guy in the middle, of course. He's not a part of the team. And this is just a part of React Native open source team, really. So those are people who are building reanimated screens, gesture handler, and other things. And over the past years, at Software Mention, building developer tools have become like a really important part of our culture, really. So currently we have like around 30% of the time, of the development time we spend on building developer tools. So we have plenty of experience in this area, and we feel like this is really something where we can make impact. So that area is really important for us. And this is, for React Native open source, we have over 20 people now who are actively contributing to improving developer tools in React Native, including maintaining libraries, building new libraries, stuff like that. But beyond that, we also have other teams who work on that work on development tools in areas like blockchain or multimedia. So this team is actually like very important part of our company culture, and this problem is also something. The problem of the developer experience in React Native is also something that we finally decided to tackle. And so, as Kacper mentioned, I was working on one project for a couple of months now, and wanted to do a live demo of the tool that we built and how we see it evolving and hopefully changing the landscape when it comes to developer experience in React Native. So I'll be doing live demo now, and I haven't done that in a while. So hopefully everything will be smooth. And I'll just exit this. I'll close this. I'll close the terminal. I'm not using terminal. I mean, I really love terminal, but this is too small, I think. Yeah, so this is a React Native project that I just opened. I've cloned it from GitHub. There is this guy. He's even here because I cloned it from his GitHub, Simon Grimm. Thank you for this example. He posted that just a few days ago. I was actually preparing another demo, but then I saw he's posting some video tutorials, React Native, pretty good stuff. And I saw that, and I figured I would just try using this for the demo. So I fetched his project. I opened it here, and so this is pretty much like a clean React Native project. And what you can do in VS Code is have this thing just run side by side. So we have this kind of a embedded simulator. It runs kind of displays inside of the VS Code, and the goal is for this to integrate with your regular workflow. So it opens the app. So what happened when you saw this spinning thing? It was actually building the project for you, installing the CocoaPods. You don't why people really need to know about CocoaPods even if they just want to run React Native. So installing everything you needed, installing node modules, installing CocoaPods, building the project, configuring Metro, setting up Metro on a separate port such that it doesn't confuse people when they start a second instance of the the project and they want to run something. So Metro runs there, but it runs on an ephemeral port. And everything is just set up for you to do things here. And instead of thinking what you need to install and how to even get started. So you get that. You can of course just click on things here, right? So you can click things. Yeah, there is this nice application that this is like an Airbnb clone. I haven't written that code, so I don't really know the application. And if I want to change something, I don't like the sign-in text here. I'd rather have it login. So I click here, inspect, click here, and it just opens the file on the sidebar. So this is the integration that we're talking about. We want to have a seamless experience for you. So you tap on an element, and it just moves you to the code where this element is defined. So I just change it to login, and then it changes here. Pretty good, right? No? You like it? No. So there are other things here. So for example, there's this scroll thing, but it just highlights when I don't like this experience. When I try to just scroll it highlights immediately instead of letting me scroll without this effect. So I can click on this inspect here. I click on that guy, and then it opens the component where this is defined. And what I should use instead is borderless button from gesture handler, of course. That's how I solve these problems, because I really need to have the native buttons here. I save it, and whoops. Yeah, you no longer have that. Cool. So nice thing about this project that Simon built is that it uses Export Router. Are you familiar with Export Router? Anyone used Export Router? Tried Export Router? No? Yeah, we have some people here. Right. So in Export Router, every kind of screen is bound to a route. So once we know that, we can actually do something about it. So, oops, something broke. But yeah, so what we have here is the URL bar. So you have URL bar with the history where you were before. So you can change screens from here. You can go to profile. And of course, when you flip here, it just changes, right? So when you open it here, it changes. This is also a pretty nice feature. You also have the back button here if you need it for some reason. Yeah, this is really nice when you use Export Router. Cool. What's next? Debugging. So we talked about debugging, and there's this button here. I press it, and then nothing happens. How do I know what should happen? I don't know this code base. I click inspect. I go to this button here, and I see that this is like a touchable, and that just does nothing. So I'll add something, right? I need debugging. I need some debugging. So I'll do console log something. Yeah, and now I'm debugging, really. Yeah, I'm clicking on things, and then the logs are appearing. I don't know why it's actually changes the size when I do this. So yeah, so in our IDE, there is this button here. It just appeared. Yeah, I have it just divided by different sections so that I'm not demonstrating everything at once. So there's this button here. When you click on things and logs are being generated, it actually integrates with the console in the IDE. So you have things like filtering here for free, right? So you can filter logs. You can also, just, oops, if I closed it, oops, why is it here? I don't know. Okay, so when I do this, then it opens the file where the log is being printed, right? So this is nice also because it's kind of native to VS Code. We haven't had to do anything about that. It just works like this. And it's very convenient as well. So you easily, if you have, a ton of logs your application is generating. It's easy to find the places where you need to delete them, or just locate the place where the log was generated. Yeah. So this is for the logs, but once we built this, we started thinking what else we can build, and we built this nice button here with a magnet. So what the magnet does, it actually gives you this functionality that we call follow. When you enable it, it tracks the files that you visited when you were editing things. So now when you are at this file, I edited it on this screen. But then when I change to this file over here, okay, or I change to this file, it goes to profile. And I change to this file, it actually navigates to the file where you edited the given file. So it kind of keeps track on things where you edited them, so that such that when we want to change something, you don't need to remember where was the screen where I was viewing this particular component. Yeah, so this is the follow functionality. All right, so what's next? We have those buttons over here that just appeared here. So it's really convenient to change some things about the settings of your device. So just testing it with some different text size, or changing the light mode, dark mode easily from here instead of going through the settings. So apparently this app doesn't really do anything about the light mode except from just the status bar changing. But yeah, you can easily see that how changing the font size impacts the screen and how it renders and how it handles the change of the text. So that's also another convenient feature here. And yeah, so we talked about debugging, and really not everyone apparently is satisfied from just being able to log things and seeing the logs. So we also have the debugger integrated here. So once you run it, it just runs the debugger, it connects the debugger, and you have the full experience here. So you can set breakpoints. I said it before the presentation. And when it pauses, it shows this thing, and then you can resume it from here. Yeah, another thing that's really convenient, you can inspect things, stuff like that, or just see the stack trace here, stuff like this. Just regular things that should be normal, but just weren't really this accessible before. Yeah, so there are more buttons on this application. So there's this one button that I broke. So when something wrong happens, instead of having the red screen of death in Regnative, you get this. So it just pauses in debugger. It stops in the place where the exception was thrown. It tells you, hey, the collapsible was null, and this is because this ref wasn't really being set properly. So I can set it here. I can set it here. I'll resume, and now I can click on this thing, and it works. Nice. Okay, so I have one more thing to show. So the last one is something I think from what the project actually started. So we wanted to build this. We have this inspect. So there's this component where to search bar, which just displays this part. And we have this package here that's called preview. And when you use this package preview, you can actually just call it here with the component name. And then this button appears. When you click on it, it just opens this single component in isolation. So when you want to work on styling things without being cluttered by everything that happens in your app, you can use this functionality. So it supports, yeah, of course you can change things here in the update. We can do this, for example, and have some variants of this component. So we can have time, week, and have another copy of this for the day. And then when we click on this, then it opens, oops, there's this unnecessary thing here. Yeah, so you can change between those different options. And like every single component that you have, you can actually put inside that preview and have it kind of work in isolation. Of course, yeah, when you want to go back, you just do this thing and it opens the app again. Yeah, that's almost everything. Oh, this thing appeared here. Wow, didn't notice this. So there's Android. So this everything that I showed, whoops, it also works on Android. I messed up, I think, because I should have really removed the maps, because this project, I don't have maps configured for Android, apparently. Yeah, so that's why it crashed. Okay, yeah, it happens. Sorry about that. I need to reset it now. Yeah, so this is still pretty early project. We hope to start, practicing using it in the production projects very soon. Yeah, I was meant to show Android. Where is it? There we go. So hopefully now this will work on Android as well. But anyways, yeah. So that's everything I had prepared for today. If you have any questions, I'll be around for the happy hour after the presentations. And yeah, thank you so much. And we hope to see Android render. It doesn't look as nice on Android though, so that's something. I mean, that's not a problem with the tool, but the problem with the application code, and maybe the fact that I removed things from it in order to make it render. Anyways, thank you so much, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the presentations.